Have you ever met someone who genuinely enjoys being alone? Not lonely, not depressed, just alone. While everyone else is searching for attention, validation, and constant connection, these people seem perfectly comfortable spending hours or even days by themselves. Most people assume they're antisocial. Some think they're arrogant. Others believe something must be wrong with them. But psychology suggests something much deeper. In many cases, the preference for solitude didn't start in adulthood. It started in childhood. And once you understand what happened back then, their behavior today suddenly makes perfect sense. Before we begin, it's important to understand one thing. Not everyone who enjoys being alone had a difficult childhood. Some people are naturally introverted. Some simply recharge in solitude. But psychologists have noticed a fascinating pattern. Many adults who strongly prefer being alone developed that preference as a survival strategy when they were young. What looks like independence today may have started as adaptation years ago. The child learned a lesson so powerful that it followed them into adulthood. Let's explore the childhood experiences that often shape people who feel safest when they're alone. Point 1. They learned early that their emotions weren't welcome. Imagine a child who feels scared, sad, confused. Maybe they cry after a difficult day. Instead of comfort, they hear, "Stop crying. You're too sensitive. Get over it." Over time, something important happens. The child stops expressing emotions, not because the emotions disappear, but because expressing them feels unsafe. Psychologists call this emotional invalidation. When children's feelings are repeatedly dismissed, they often learn to process everything alone. As adults, they may appear strong and independent, but deep inside, they've been trained to believe that vulnerability leads to disappointment. So instead of reaching out, they retreat, not because they don't need people, but because they learned not to expect support. Point 2. Their home felt unpredictable. Some children grow up in environments where they never know what version of their parents they'll encounter. One day, everything is calm. The next day, there's anger, criticism, tension, or conflict. When a home feels unpredictable, the child's nervous system stays alert, always watching, always preparing, always scanning for danger. In these situations, solitude often becomes the safest place. Their bedroom, a quiet corner, time spent alone. Those moments become associated with peace. Years later, adulthood arrives, and guess what still feels safe? Being alone. Not because they hate people, but because solitude became their earliest form of emotional security. Point 3. They became the mature child too early. Have you ever heard someone say, "I've always handled everything myself"? That sentence often reveals more than people realize. Many solitude-loving adults were forced to grow up too quickly. Maybe they cared for younger siblings. Maybe they became their parents' emotional support system. Maybe they learned that no one was coming to rescue them. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as parentification. The child becomes responsible for problems that should never have belonged to them. As a result, they develop extreme self-reliance. And while self-reliance can be useful, it comes with a hidden cost. Trust becomes difficult. Asking for help feels uncomfortable. Dependence feels dangerous. So they continue carrying everything alone, even when they no longer have to. Point 4. They were often misunderstood. Some children feel different from everyone around them. Their interests are different. Their personality is different. Their way of thinking is different. Instead of feeling accepted, they often feel judged, mocked, ignored, or misunderstood. After enough experiences like this, the child reaches a conclusion. It's easier to be alone than to explain myself. As adults, they may still carry this belief, not because they dislike connection, but because connection has historically required too much effort and too much disappointment. Point 5. Solitude became their place of healing. Here's something most people misunderstand. For many people, solitude isn't an escape, it's recovery. When childhood felt emotionally exhausting, alone time became the moment when they could finally relax. No criticism, no expectations, no pressure, no emotional performance, just peace. Their brain begins associating solitude with relief. Years later, whenever life becomes stressful, they instinctively return to what once helped them survive. Being alone becomes less of a preference and more of a psychological comfort zone. But there's an important distinction. Healthy solitude is powerful. powerful. Isolation is different. People who learned to survive alone sometimes struggle to recognize when independence becomes emotional distance. They may convince themselves they don't need anyone. They may avoid relationships that could actually help them heal. They may protect themselves so effectively that nobody can get close. The same walls that once kept pain out can eventually keep love out too. And that's where the challenge begins. If you recognize yourself in this video, there's something important you need to know. Your preference for being alone doesn't make you broken. In many cases, it means your younger self adapted to circumstances the best way it could. The habits that protected you as a child were intelligent survival strategies. The problem is that survival strategies don't always serve us forever. Sometimes healing means learning that not everyone will dismiss your feelings. Not everyone will judge you. Not everyone will let you down. And not every connection is a threat. The people who prefer being alone are often far more complex than they appear. Behind that independence is usually a story of adaptation, a story of resilience, a story of a child who learned to create safety within themselves. And while solitude can be beautiful, true healing often happens when someone finally discovers that they can feel safe both alone and with others. So here's a question. Do you enjoy being alone because it's who you are or because it's who you had to become? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video insightful, subscribe for more psychology-based content that helps you understand yourself and the people around you. See you in the next video.